Hello, everyone. Raymond Moore, Kilted Prepper. How's everybody doing this evening? Boy, has it been an interesting day today. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, man, crazy day today. And yeah, I mean, gonna let a few moments here to let folks get in the room and everything, and just want to welcome all our new folks here this evening. And do me a favor, please like, subscribe, and share, and then ring that little bell so they get notified whenever we get new videos up or whenever we go live. So let's see who we got in the room already. We got Lori and Michael and Lori and Cynthia. And so, got some folks in the room. That's great. That's really, really good. So, the big headlines today, man, talk about I have been stuck to the news and my Telegram news groups and several YouTube channels and everything like that over this Russian coup. Like, oh my goodness. I mean, talk about something that's crazy and everything. Now the good news is that what happened is the president of Belarus has been able to broker a deal between Putin and who is that other guy, Vachinko, I mean, whoever runs Wagner Group, and so he's been able to broker a deal with them, and so, but it's interesting. The deal was that Prigozhin gets to, one Shoigu will be fired. I mean, all these Russian names, man, I just can't say. But Shoigu will be fired, and there is intel coming out that he has actually been arrested. It's not confirmed or anything like that, but he has been arrested. But it is, from what I'm understanding, that was one of Prigozhin's major, uh, you know, gripes was some of the upper echelon in the military were just upsetting him or something. And then he also brokered for full amnesty for all the Wagner Group troops. And then Prigozhin gets to receive safe passage to Africa. And, are we going to start taking bets now how long Prigozhin lasts in Africa? Or something, maybe some lion will accidentally come eat him or something like that. I was watching a video today with Putin, and Putin just came out. The interviewer was saying, "So, are you going to forgive this and everything?" And Putin goes, "Hey, man, I'm a very forgiving man, but there's just one thing that I can't forgive, and that's betrayal." So, I think Prigozhin is, I in Russian, way things go there and everything, I think Shoigun probably has some limited days of living in Africa before, some lion or something comes and eats him up accidentally. So, but hey, Karen, how you doing? See, you popped into the room. But as you guys know, Cynthia is not here this evening. She was actually working at the church today, putting in a garden, and so she is quite filthy dirty and very, very sore. So she is in her chair, and she's going to be, doing some comments and everything like that. But yeah, she's super sore and super dirty. So I said, hey, listen, I'll just take care of it. Don't worry about it. I'll fly solo tonight and everything like that. But she is in the comments. So say hi to Cynthia there. But it was just for me, I don't know about you guys and everything, but it was kind of a nail biter day in regards to seeing basically Russia almost imploding in on itself, and was rather crazy. And the interesting thing is, and this is something that we need to think about and look at as as preppers. I mean, imagine the folks in Moscow went to bed last night and woke up this morning hearing of a coup or civil war, or this Prigozhin guy is coming with a bunch of troops and is going to take over Moscow. So and it's amazing to me how fast everything was going down. I mean, in 12 hours time, this guy was just 2 hours out of Moscow. But the interesting thing is in looking at a lot of the Twitters coming through and Telegram stuff, Um, One, they were seeing grocery stores just being hammered, and food just disappearing like crazy, as well as fuel. And the very interesting thing about all this is, look how fast this all went down really quick. And so a lot of times we think, oh, an SHTF situation may take place and take a week, month, whatever. SHTF happens in something like that situation there. I mean, in just a matter of hours, look how fast things, fell apart, and how a country almost ended up into civil war. And again, we're not talking days or weeks here. We're talking literally hours, Saturday afternoon. And so it's something to really think about. And if you're doing your preps and everything, I would go back through your preps right now and really look at how much food do you have, how much, look at all your basics, and how much of this and how much of that, and everything, so that you're stocked up and planned up. And it's really, really interesting. And again, all the footage and stuff that was coming through, and I'm sure a lot of you were watching this as well, but it was, I mean, I was just amazed how fast that could happen. And so imagine a invasionary force, coming here or something like that. Now, the good thing about us here in the US is we got two big moats, the Atlantic and the Pacific. And so any landing force, could they drop paratroopers in and everything like that? But even then, to relocate a sizable force, you'd be seeing a lot of planes coming over. So we would have a little bit of time. Same thing, in ships and stuff like that. And so we would need, we would get that warning time frame and stuff. So but in what happened today with the attempted coup, is that it was just hours. And I'm sure you saw some of the video, but I was watching just videos all over the place, grocery stores being raided, lines, gas station, and everything. A lot of these people were behind the eight ball and didn't prepare. Now, I'm sure there's preppers on it. And the interesting thing is that Russia really does hammer that same Cold War preparedness thing. The subways of Moscow are all fallout shelters, and they've got them stocked and all this other stuff. And so it's interesting to see that even if you're living in an environment like that, where preparedness and so forth is really talked about, that people were still, behind the eight ball. And so this is a really interesting, lesson. So it's folks, I really highly encourage you to really start looking at your preps, and make sure that you start filling in your holes and everything like that, because again, it happens so fast. So what were some of the things, we got about 17 people in the room. Do me a favor, what's some of the things that really stood out to you in this quick Russian coup deal? And what were some of the concerns that you have? Now, I know one of the concerns that I also had is, if Trichenko, or whatever his name was, if he actually was able to gain control and then even overthrow Putin. He's a hardcore nationalist, and he's been screaming for nukes for a long time in the Ukraine war. And so, if he would have gained power and overthrown Putin and everything like that, then we would have seen a guy who really just wants to push the button. And so that's one thing that really had me concerned, is that, I mean, it's kind of a choice, who do you choose, the devil or Satan? And at least with Putin, we're kind of knowing what we get, whereas with this Pachinko guy, or what's his name? How do you say it again? Pachinko, what's his Por, Prigozhin. That's it. So, this Prigozhin guy, nobody really knows his political background or what he's like or anything. All we know is that he runs a mercenary company and, basically dirty deeds done dirt cheap. So he's anytime Putin needed anything going, hey man, go in and get this, this power plant or go in and get and he and his crew would do it. And a lot of the troops that, Prigozhin had in the Wagner group were prior, special forces and all that other stuff, as well as prisoners. So, but these were all battle hardened folks and things. So if they reached to Moscow doesn't have any, stationed military. I mean, they have National Guard in a sense, and they have the police, but what sort of training or warfare experience or something do these guys have going up against, seasoned hard, soldiers who's been in battle already and everything. So, but Prigozhin, he kind of stirred the pot today. So, let's see here. Michael, he's all in on World War III. Totally agree, Michael. Yeah, he is all in. Hey, Heather. Who else we got? Stephanie. Hey, Stephanie. And so he's all in. And if he would have come to power, then I think our DRFs, what is it, your defensive ready force, or what is it that we're on, DRF 1 or DRF 2 or DEFCON, DEFCON. I'm thinking spec op days, man. That's what we used to be under DRFs. But but DEFCONs, I mean, it would have gotten kind of crazy and everything if Prigozhin became, the next leader and stuff. So I'm glad that, things, got hammered out and the president of Belarus was able to broker a deal and everything like that, because that would have just been up, crazy civil war and everything, and it's interesting. I was, kind of pondering and thinking and, watching some of the other global strategists and everything talking about, what happens if. And so it would have, changed things quite a bit. Because again, Prigozhin is a hothead. And, he's been pushing hard on Putin. He's like, dude, let's hit those tactical nukes. Let's hit those buttons. Come on. So he's been really, pushing it. Raymond, don't forget all the fighting age Chinese that has come through the southern border lately. Yes, that's a very interesting aspect as well, too. That's what's going on here. So there's a lot of things, that this Russian thing has really caused me to really reevaluate, learn lessons. What can we pull from it? And everything. So I really encourage you guys to do the same thing. And excuse me 1 second. I have got this spot right there, right in the middle, and I see a big blurry spot. I hate it when my glasses get dirty and things. But yeah, like I said, I was kind of sitting on pins and needles a little bit today, just watching all the YouTubers and everything. The one person I did watch, and I do want to give a shout out to, is Pinball Preparedness. And he was given some good intel because his wife is Russian and has got family over there and all that other stuff. And so she speaks Russian and all that. She's got, contacts. And so he was able to, have relatives and everything kind of give some intel that which wasn't really coming across, on the news or anything. Mainstream media didn't pick up this story till about 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. or something. I don't know, but it took them a while for, to pick that one up. But yeah, pinball preparedness really did a good job. So I was watching a lot of his videos and things like that, as well as some of the other global trends or global strategists that I watch and things like that. So, but yeah, very, very interesting situation that I'm glad that they came to an agreement. So, but so what else is going on? The big news, and it's interesting, this article, I wrote an article, posted it this week, about how the Walmart heirs, the Waltons, have sold over 71 million shares of stock. And I went all the way back to 2016. And the reason 2016 stands out because also that was the last time that the Waltons bought stock, and so they've just been constantly selling and everything. But in reality, if you look at their stock trades and everything, there was just nothing really unusual. So the Waltons, would sell some here, sell some there, and so they were able to do that. And but nothing really stood out. Now, let's see, Alice Walton, who is the woman in the middle there. Alice Walton did sell, I want to say, in 2010, that no, in 2020, yeah, 2 years ago, or 2021, she sold 9 million shares. And the reason was because she was funding and building an art museum in New York. And so that, kind of that little spike and hiccup and everything, I saw that one and well, but when I started researching that's what I found out. But there haven't been any really huge spikes in selling and anything until this year. And in March, they started selling things right off. And so in fact, here, this is all the sales that they made in 2023. This is Alice. And if you look at S. Robinson and Jim or James, his stock sales and everything were basically on the same par and things like that. But what I found rather surprising is that this is the most stock they have ever unloaded, at least in the research that I have been able to do. I mean, 71 million shares, and that came out to about 10, 11 billion dollars that they, walked away from. And so it's a when I saw that, and this is the thing that really caused me to question is, why are they selling off that huge of amount of stock? I mean, I couldn't find any real reasons. Now, a number of people are saying, well, it's normal because they have to sell at certain times of the year and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, yeah, I understand that and everything. But why the high amount? And um, my biggest concern, or the biggest thing that I see, is that I think they're selling because in preparation for something to go down with China and possibly even the BRICS nations. And we know that the BRICS nations have been hammering the dollar like crazy. And uh it would have been rather interesting to see what would happen if, this coup continued and everything in Russia. How would have that affected the BRICS situation? Because Putin's very behind the whole BRICS alliance. And so would that Pachenko or Petroikin or whatever his name is, um, would he have gone along with it and everything if he would have gained power and things? But my biggest concern is that in August, and I know I've been preaching this like crazy, folks, but in August, the BRICS nations are coming together, and then they're going to be bringing in 23 new nations. And there's even more people waiting on the sidelines to get accepted. But if these 23 nations come into, get brought into BRICS, then they will create a GDP 30% larger than the United States, over 50% of the global population, and in control of 60% of the global petroleum. And so these are some major numbers. This is something that's, very, very important. And what I am seeing out of all of this is that, if BRICS does come about, and again, it's not going to happen overnight or anything like that, but it could be something, Chairman P or Chairman T or Ping P, the guy who runs China and everything, he's very much a cult of personality. And you talk about a dictator. I mean, everything's on him. I mean, he's just come right out and he's shot any advisors, he's shot anybody that would stand against him. And in fact, the last president of China or something like that publicly had him arrested right there in the house or whatever it is they meet in, and stuff. And so he's done away with any rival or any naysayer or anything, to the point where now anybody is afraid to even come up and talk to Chairman P and, hey, bud, listen, this is happening or that's happening. Nobody even wants to, basically what he has now is just a bunch of yes men, because they are terrified for, losing their lives. And so, everything is happening. And it's rather interesting. I was doing some research, and it was funny that China was having some blackouts and some brownouts going on, for quite several months. And I want to say it was in May, 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. May of 2 years ago, they were having a lot of brownouts and blackouts and all this other electrical problem and everything like that. And Chairman P didn't even know it was happening or anything, because none of his advisors would tell him what was going on. And to the point that how he learned about it was from a phone call from President Biden, of all people, letting, hey man, what's going on with all these blackouts and brownouts that you got going on in, Southeast China? And Pete was like, what? So, it was that's how bad his information sources are, because people are just terrified of him and things. Now, I say all that because, he does not like the US, not very much. And he's, come right out and said it, doesn't like us, and he's starting to basically even believe his own propaganda and everything. And so I'm really concerned that if and when BRICS does come together, that he might escalate things quite a bit, and what we might see is an economic war. And thing is China depends on us as much as we depend on China. Now the thing is that they've been slowly decoupling from us. In fact, they've been decoupling from us at an actually rather fast rate. Just last week, they canceled a 2 million ton corn order. And that's something that's going to affect the corn farmers. That's a lot of corn that the U.S. farmers who grew that corn are now not going to be able to sell or anything like that, because they canceled, China canceled that contract. And instead, what they're going to do is they're going to go take that contract to South Africa, which is the S in BRICS. So we're starting to see more of these things take place where, Chairman P is kind of restructuring things and decoupling from the US. And the thing is that we haven't been doing much decoupling at all. And so I'm highly concerned that, we're going to be, up the paddle without a creek, for to say. And let's see here. Nope, that's that one. But something that I saw is in Walmart, 70 to 80% of Walmart's merchandise leaving less than 20% of the American made products. So there are more products in Walmart that were Asian made, Chinese made versus an American made. And then Walmart actually came out and said, hey, we're going to, use a bunch of money, 250 billion, to just buy American made. And what that really, came out to is just basically 6% of their, sales over the past decade. Now, if Walmart, and this is what it is today, if Walmart continues to grow at the same rate in 2023, the country will spend just 3.2% on American made goods. That means, basically 96% or 97% of the items that Walmart buys and sells is imports. And it's rather interesting. Just the other day, and I'm kind of showing my hand a little, because we're going to talk about this next week, But it's interesting. Start, when you go into Walmart, and folks, we rarely go into Walmart anymore because we've made the switch, and that we've found some American companies to start dealing with, and that's what we're doing. But it's interesting to read the labels and see, how much product that is going into your shopping basket that is, one, supporting China, and or two, supporting one of the BRICS nations. Because again, once these 23 countries join, there's going to be a lot of countries that the US gets their imports from that are now going to be BRICS nations. And again, I sound like a broken record, and I don't mean to, but I think that what's going to happen, especially if, China gets their way and everything, is to really create a trade blockade or a trade, something, and in a sense almost push America out of it, because the 23 nations that are going to be joining are a lot of the nations that we buy stuff from. And then on top of that, all the nations that are oil producers and everything too. Now, on the flip side, basically we are an energy independent country. We can produce our own oil. We produce our own natural gas. It's just this administration has got their head up their fourth point of contact and will not let us drill or use any of this stuff because they got a new green deal and everything. But I digress a little bit. But that's what I'm seeing. But we're seeing more and more China decoupling from the US. And then once I think these BRICS nations start doing it, we're going to start seeing more countries also start decoupling or de-dollarizing. And again, more and more, like Brazil has just come right out. They're very adversarial to the US right now and the US dollar. I mean, the president of Brazil is just hammering the US on things. Saudi Arabia, another big important player in the world of politics and everything, because they got a huge chunk of oil, but they are now taking the Chinese yuan in payment. And so what this does is it skirts the whole petrodollar, and then also skirts the SWIFT system and everything. So if there's sanctions against the country, or if we want to use, our leverage against some country and everything, then by doing these things and creating, these methods and stuff, they're able to skirt the SWIFT, they're able to skirt the petrodollar and other things like that. And that's going to leave us, kind of holding the bag and leaving us high and dry. And so, but the other thing too, and this I kind of segue into this, is that when these nations come together, they are talking about, creating a new currency. And this new currency is going to be called the R2, or I think people are just going to call it the brick, but it's going to be called the R2. And again, once that comes into play and becomes, more of a hard currency, because I don't know if you know, the R2 is going to be backed by a basket of currencies. They're going to be backed by precious metals as well as rare earth minerals. And so the R2 is actually going to be a tangible asset, with something behind it. The problem with the US dollar is that the only thing that we have behind it is the faith in that piece of paper and a bunch of IOUs, because we've built this massive debt system and our dollar is only based on debt. And so more and more countries, one, are wanting to skirt and not be able to, come under sanctions or be penalized or something like that, or lose their sovereign dollars. Like in the case that Russia lost, $200 billion or $200 million, a bunch of sovereign dollars that were Russians. And this is something that we've never done, folks. And this is a biggie. It wasn't until the Biden administration came in and weaponized the dollar. Even when we were fighting in Iran and all these other places and everything like that, we have never taken the sovereign dollars of our enemies, because that was just a line that we'd never crossed. So, but comes in the current administration, and what do? They slap sanctions on Russia for the whole Ukraine thing and all this other stuff, and they steal back, this 200 billion, sovereign dollars that is Russia's property. And so they crossed that line. And in doing so, and doing that to a big country, all these little countries and medium-sized countries are looking at that and say, wow, man, they did that to Russia. If they're willing to do that to Russia, then they're going to do it to us. So there's a lot of fear, in a sense, of being part of the dollar system and the SWIFT system, that the countries we're losing faith. And so guys, excuse me, we got some allergies going here too, man. But countries are losing faith in our dollar system. And so once you lose faith in the dollar system, especially with a dollar that's only backed by IOUs, and the faith of that piece of paper being worth something, then we're going to be seeing more and more countries, I believe, start running to the brick. Now, as all this takes place, I see trade wars or economic wars coming. We don't need to be lobbing missiles or anything at each other. Cut off the supply and see how things go about. Our world has turned into so much of a global trade partner that, and we saw this especially during the COVID days, is that when a supply chain breaks, or if materials are not being delivered, something's not being made, and something's again not being delivered. So we've seen how fragile basically the global supply chain is. And so I can see these countries, there's some that are neutral to us and everything. There's some that don't like us, and there's some that just out and out hate us. And I can see some of these countries just, coming out and saying, hey, man, we're just not going to sell it to you anymore. Go find it somewhere else. Well, when you have countries like Russia and everything, who, for example, Russia is, the number one, Russia and Ukraine are the number one suppliers of neon in the world. And so right now, we are now starting to suffer and feel the ramifications of a high-end to middle-end microchip shortage. And without neon, the lasers cannot, they use neon to focus and sharpen the lasers to etch the chips. No neon, no chips. And so, but with all these things going on like that, and we start looking at all these other countries and what are they really providing and everything, all of a sudden that becomes leverage. And so I'm really concerned that China may, exert some muscle and everything once they bring on these 23 countries and basically say, hey guys, listen, let's just, either charge a really high price or make them buy it in the R2, aka brick, or let's just not sell to them at all, them being us, the US. And I bring that back. That's one of the lessons that in today's Russian coup really stood out to me, is how fast things will go down if something like that, happened or transpired. Or another thing is, say China, did choose to, go to an economic war with us and basically just shut off all our goods. Again, what, 96% of the goods in Walmart are either Chinese made or Chinese sourced or, bricks made. And again, I challenge you, anytime you're going in there, if you do go in there again, is look and see where a lot of this stuff is made. Now, another thing too is start looking for, made in PRC. I'm starting to see that pop up more. Well, a lot of people, when they see that, they, oh, PRC, that must be Puerto Rico or something like that. No, it's People's Republic of China. And so you're starting to see, at least I've been seeing on tags and labels, made in PRC. And so that's, the People's Republic of China, not Puerto Rico, folks. And so we're seeing a lot of things. Now, there's I don't know if you ever heard, there is a store, and this, the search that I've been on. How do I find American-made products? How do I, put my money where my mouth is and not be a hypocrite? And one of the stores that I looked into is called Azure Standard. And I learned about this because a lot of homesteaders and preppers use Azure Standard. And they have a rather interesting business model. What you do is you put your order in, a truck arrives once a month, and you go down and pick up all your stuff and all that other junk. And so it was kind of interesting, kind of weird and everything, cutting out the middleman and everything like that. But when I really started looking through Azure Standard, I was rather surprised to see where a lot of stuff is made in China or BRICS nations. And then one of the things I definitely looked at was I'm really interested in what the soaps and cleansers and other things, because we're trying to detoxify our home. And so a lot of their soaps and cleansers and everything, none of it says made by, it's distributed by. And so that tells me that their soaps and cleansers and everything that's got their name on it, the stuff that they're pushing, is probably sourced or made somewhere else. And all they're doing is just bottling it here and shipping it out. And so for those of you who are, well, I use Azure Standard, so I'm using American made. Well, start reading the labels, folks, because even their food, and now granted, a lot of their food, they do have a lot of organic products and everything in the canned food department and everything like that. And a lot of it is made in America, but also I saw quite a bit made in Brazil, and I saw quite a bit made in India, as well as some other countries. But again, what we need to do is really create these supply chains so that we have places to still get our stuff when crap hits the fan. And again, today, just looking at what happened in the coup with Russia, man, it moved like lightning. And, I was, again, amazed how fast things just transpired and things went down. And then the population, basically started, raiding grocery stores and all this other stuff and gas stations and everything. And so, I highly, it was a wake up call. And so in looking for all these companies and everything so that we can continue our supply chain, even when things go down, then, that's what I've been doing. And I even looked at Amway. Amway, big company, lots of stuff and everything, but I found a lot of their stuff is made in China too and things. And then also rather surprising is Amway is involved with World Economic Forum. And if you email me or message below or something, maybe I can find, there was a video on that. There was a rather high muckety muck in the Amway system that they started doing their homework and started, seeing some things come about and people going over there to meet Klaus and stuff like that, is that it was, involved with World Economic Forum. So that was another red flag for me. So the big thing is where are you going to find your stuff and how are you going to resupply and everything, and then growing your own. I keep telling you, and yeah, I'm a broken record here, folks. If you got a nice, really pretty grass backyard, tear that sucker up and plant a garden. And I'm rather amazed because again, I live in a different growing zone here. Down in Texas, it's the growing down there is really weird. And then you really can't grow very much, especially if during the summertime, because everything just cooks unless you want to really invest in shade cloth and all this other junk, which I was just not willing to do. But I found, that living here, I'm in zone 7B, and I can basically garden all the way up to December. And that is granted if we don't have a heavy snowfall or anything like that. But, it's rather, it's like, wow. So not only can I do an early spring, midsummer, and a fall, but I can also put in a winter garden here as well. Because what last year actually was rather mild. And had I really known that, I would have been taking advantage of that in a big way. But we got our first big box is now completely filled, and I'm going to be planting that out tomorrow. I got a bunch of tomatoes and veggies and everything sprouting up in little cups and that and stuff, just getting my things going. But stuff just need to get in the ground. But going to be starting putting some stuff in the ground. And then I highly encourage you, watch my electroculture videos. I mean, I am blown away of the growth that we are getting from our copper, our copper wire wrapped sticks, or AKA antennas, and the growth that we're getting from those. I mean, carrots, I'm blown away. We started having carrots sprout within 6 days, and that is like unheard of. And, maybe somebody out there has been having carrots sprout in 6 days, but never happened with me. I've never had luck with carrots and stuff. But carrots take at least 15 days to germinate and things. They are slow producers. But my carrots that were sitting right around my copper antenna started sprouting. And again, if you just look, I did a video yesterday. Go check it out. And I show you, it's interesting. You see the carrots, just there's a big clump of them, and then as you spread further away, less and less sprouts. But man, right there next to that antenna, these carrots are sprouting away. And then also I have I have 5 tomato plants. 2 of them are really doing good. And then one is north of the antenna, and that one is just growing like normal. And then I have 2 others that are farther away from the antenna, and they're just kind of growing like normal. But on the southern side of the antenna, they are taking off, and they're all the same tomato plant. And it's amazing to me, how are these 2 plants just growing like crazy? And then also the garlic, my garlic is sprouting like crazy. And as you move away, my bulbs got little growth like that, where by my antenna, I've got growth that tall and everything already with the antenna and stuff. So it's really amazing to me. So I'm going to be putting several more poles or antennas in, and so, but in that I kind of digress. Here, hold on. But it's start doing these things, folks. And tell you what, let's take a quick break here. Let's see who's here, who's saying stuff, because I'm seeing everything run by in the corner of my eye. So good come out, Cynthia talking, Lori talking. Sherry, how you doing, Sherry? I'm just ducking here for a few minutes. Good to see you, Sherry. So sad about Azure. Yeah, Lori says, Sherry says, hey girl, angry taco 22 just got here, didn't get a YouTube notification. Folks, check to see if you are still subscribed, or if you did ring that little bell. But as you know, a number of the prepper stations have been seeing subscribers disappear. And so do me a favor right now, make sure that you're subscribed and you hit that little hit that little bell, because YouTube is pulling subscribers, and these are regular watchers too. So I'm not the only one seeing this. So if you don't see any notifications from me and when I'm pushing out videos or anything like that, check your status. Odds are is YouTube's maybe done something or changed the algorithm, and you got dropped off into internet space or something like that. But angry taco, let's see, Sherry, planning on a fall winter garden. That's good. Congrats on the carrots germinating. Yeah, thank you. Let's see. So that's what I've got so far. But yeah, so good comments. I really appreciate it. And but again, I'm really encouraging folks, because we saw how fast things went down today. I mean, 12 hours, folks, and chaos was already ensuing. And, we're lucky we live in the rural Appalachians and everything. But if you're in a big city or a metropolis area or multiple city, one of these tri-city areas or something like that, and something went down, look how fast, things eroded in Moscow today. I mean, it was happening very, very fast. And so, by making sure that, you are more self-sufficient, you've got a garden growing and that you've got other people, other gardeners and everything. That's why I mentioned, go check out the Walmart article that I wrote this week. But I'm recommending, one, get a garden going. Two, start, hanging out at the farmers markets. Every city has one. You just got to find it. And three, look into these apps. One is called Nextdoor. Nextdoor is really great it's kind of like Facebook, in a sense, but for neighborhoods. And so I'm subscribed to my local neighborhood as well as Salem and Roanoke and other things like that. But it's great because you have people in your neighborhood, and I belong to several gardening groups on Nextdoor, and it's a great way to meet other gardeners, because what you would like to do or what you want to do is start looking at setting up, barter and trade groups or mutual assistance groups. And, if you've got a boatload of tomatoes and you want some zucchini, then you've got maybe someone to trade with. And so by being on Nextdoor, you're able to get to know some of these other gardeners and everything. I know Cynthia has made some contacts with other gardeners and everything as well. And so Nextdoor is a really good app. Then there is an app called Public Square. That's publicsq.com. And what Public Square does is that if you have a family owned or US owned, or you're a small business or something, but you're the owner and everything, you're able to list your company in that app. And then that way people know that you've got goods and services to work with. And so that's another thing that Cynthia and I are trying to do, is leverage that app more. Is when we need something, well, who in the area does this, and can we find somebody? And the great thing is you zap in your zip code, and then you say 5 miles, 10 miles, 50 miles, or whatever, and find other locally owned businesses, family owned businesses and stuff, and start really shopping local. And so Public Square is another good one. And then also is preppernet.net, preppernet.net. And I've been involved with PrepperNet for a while. I know the CEO has been a friend of mine for a while. He's the CEO of Sun Ovens. He owns Sun Ovens. If any of you guys know what Sun Oven is, well, probably one of the best solar ovens out there. But Forrest runs PrepperNet, and what it is he's really wanted to get preppers to start talking to each other, finding each other, creating multiple assistance groups, start doing some training and everything like that. And so if you're interested in learning who your local preppers are and everything, look into PrepperNet, and odds are you've got preppers in your area. And then another thing is, if your area doesn't have a leader, then step up and be the city leader for your area, and start doing that. And again, things that we've been looking at, I would love to do a 3-day bug out, because we have a little camping area here on the property. But let people come out here, test their bug out bags, and really see how functional they are and how much stuff they shouldn't have brought or overpacked and everything. But ham radio, first aid, I mean, you name it. The people are out there on PrepperNet doing all these different classes and doing all these meetups and everything like that. It's a great organization, and so I highly recommend that. So that's another fun, great thing to do. And then, as always, I'm the big thing that I'm concerned about is consumer goods. Okay, we got food, water, meds, and bullets, or beans, bullets, and band-aids. But what about everyday living? And that's something that a lot of preppers, don't have in mind. And so, What are you going to do when you need to clean your floors or clean your toilet or wash your dishes or, wipe your baby's rear end or, all these other things, shampoo and, wash yourself, clean yourself. And for the lady folks, looking good and with some makeup and, all those creams and everything y'all use. And, but these are things that are going to disappear overnight. And if China and BRICS wants to, leverage that whole trade alliance, they can really do some, hurtful damage to us because, we're not going to do it. And the thing is China can basically give us the fingers like, you know what, screw you. We'll just sell to all these other BRICS nations. We'll start making them their trade partners versus, the US. Now, the US does have the largest, consumer economy in the world and everything. And I personally think that they're going to be biting off their nose to spite their face. But that is the mindset of some of these countries. They just out and out don't like us. And they're willing to, hey, screw it. I'll bite my nose off, it's just so I can screw you. And that's becoming more and more the mentality out there, because of the very poor decisions that the current administration has been making. He is not making friends, folks. He's, doing more damage and everything than anything. And so, but I really am concerned. I mean, remember all those fights and battles in, the Walmart aisles over stinking toilet paper? Now imagine all these other things that we use every day and we don't even think about them. Do you really think about, the mouthwash and deodorant and, the floor cleaner and a lot of people just are oblivious of that. But what happens when all that stuff disappears? I mean, granted, you're just going to have a filthy, dirty house and unsanitary, living conditions and poor health and stuff. So folks are really geared up on beans, beans, bullets, and band-aids. I say Bibles too, but they're forgetting a lot of these everyday things. Now, granted, I know folks, I got some extra toothpastes and extra toothbrushes, and so, but have you even taken it even further? And what I tell folks when they email me and everything, folks, look at your receipts and see what you're buying over and over and over again. And those are the things that you're going to need. And those are the things that a lot of people just don't think about. And so, look at those things and make sure that you are able to have that personal supply chain put in place as well. So, and then just for, something that Cynthia and I have been doing is we switched over and I put a link down there to the store that we're using called Patriot Switch. And hit that link. And if you do hit that link, give me 24, 48 hours. That's about how long it takes for that to process and it get to me. And then I'll contact you. And then check your spam. My emails are ending up in spam like crazy. And then usually I'll also text you and let you know that I emailed you and check your spam folder. So if you hit that Patriot link and you want to know what we're doing, do it, please. And we'll help you out. Last month, we saved $94 on shopping at that online shopping club. And I'm amazed. We love the products. We love everything. And because of who they are, one of the things, because I'm an influencer, I'm not allowed to say their name over the internet. And so they're very big about word of mouth advertising. And so I can't be saying their name and everything. So just trust me on it. Hit my Patriot Switch link, and then I'll be glad to tell you who it is and all that other stuff. So, but we love them. We've been using them for several months now, and we love all the products. There's nothing that we don't like. We've been amazed with the performance and how much money we've been saving. I mean, big time. So the nice thing is a lot of their products are concentrated. And so, for example, I know a bottle of glass cleaner is $6.49, but it makes 6 bottles of glass spray. And that's something that Cynthia can really tell you. She loves their window cleaner. And so, but $6.49, whereas to get that same equivalent with Windex, you're going to spend about $20. So we're saving money already. Our clothes are cleaner. Our dishes are cleaner. I have this red plastic bowl, and I have never been able to get all the grease out of it. And guys, you know, some of these Rubbermaid plastic bowls and grease just sticks. And I would just slather the Dawn on and everything. But the Lemon Bright was just, I mean, a couple drops, boom, cleans it. And I was amazed at how clean it got that bowl and everything. So, and then we have dogs. I'm also amazed. You know, when you clean out the water bowl, it's kind of scummy and slippery and everything like that. Dawn wasn't doing it. Wasn't cleaning it. Couple drops of Lemon Bright, boom, and no more doggy slime on the bowls. So, but yeah, check out the Patriot Switch link. Contact me. Give me 24, 48 hours. But please answer your emails and answer your texts so that I know that you got it and everything, because everything's ending up in spam and stuff like that. So let's see here. What else? Anybody try Patriot Mobile? No, I haven't. I don't know who they are. Do me a favor, Angry Taco, email me and let me know more information about that. So, Angry Taco, Angry Cynthia, Angry Taco, Lori. Lori, yeah, Lori I know is a shopper, and amazing products, best she's ever seen. Got your email. Thanks, Michael. Yep, good job. So, but yeah, again, we saw how fast things went down in Russia today, how fast chaos can ensue. And again, we're not talking days or weeks, we're talking hours. And so it's very, very important that we as preppers really plug those holes, really look at what's going on, make sure that we have, you know, at least 90 days worth of food, water, meds, and, you know, beans, bullets, and Band-Aids, so that, you know, if anything does happen, you're covered for a while. So, you know, don't mess around, folks. Get your preps in order, keep doing it, keep buying, you know, buy those extra 5 cans, you know, 5 cans a week, or $5 every time you walk into the grocery store. Whatever little rule that you want to apply to yourself, make it happen and start doing it, so that, you know, you and your family, if a situation like that took place and, you know, you were out, you know, it's you're at least being taken care of. I mean, look at last year when was it North Carolina? North Carolina had the power outage, or South Carolina, one of the two, had the power outage for 2-3 weeks and everything. The preppers are the ones who, you know, were able to weather that storm and everything. But look how many people suffered. I mean, no groceries, no nothing and stuff. But the preppers, you know, were able to help others and, you know, weather that storm. So there's lots of examples and everything. And so just make sure that your preps are up, man. Just keep prepping, keep stuffing that pantry, man. You know, start storing cans underneath the bed or something, and things. So a lot of things took place today. Very busy day. We're sitting here at 57 minutes and 40 seconds. So any questions here? Do me a favor. If anybody has any questions, comments, or anything, please drop them in here. If you're new watching us here, you know, again, like, subscribe, and share, and ring that little bell so you get notified. And then if you are a subscriber and you think you're a subscriber, check again to make sure that you are subscribed and you got that little bell ring, so that you get all of our notices and everything. And then also sign up for my newsletter, my free newsletter. And I have to admit, I missed a couple buy alerts this week because I was not paying attention. And by the time I saw them, the deals were already over. And so I'm going to start paying attention more to that. But I send these out to my newsletter, which is free, and then also my Telegram group. My Telegram group, I'm in contact a lot. I'm constantly finding any news or anything that I think is pertinent and stuff. I zap it off to my Telegram group. And so if you want up to the minute news and information that, you know, kind of is in the arena that I play in and everything, get on Telegram, and it's called the Kilted Prepper News. In fact, there's links and everything down below. Links to my website where you can then sign up for my newsletter. When you go to my website, look over to the right-hand side, you'll see it on the sidebar, subscribe for free and everything. But those are two important means of communication that get on those things, subscribe to those, so that you stay informed and everything, but particularly for the buy alerts, because when I do find a buy alert, I post it to my Telegram group, and then I also send out an email. And a lot of times my buy alerts will just say buy alert, Augustin Farms, whatever, which is what I keep an eye on. But at one time, I think I sent out the Everready. Everready had a really good sale, $19 for 4 collapsible lanterns. Really, really good deal. And so we actually bought several of those. But it was a 4-pack of lanterns too. But whenever I do find a good deal like that, it's like, hey, folks, the battery, that battery case, that Mr. Battery, I forget what it's called, but it holds like, 100 batteries and stuff. Whenever I see that come across, because it happens about every 3 months, they'll put that thing on sale for like $9.95, where normally they're like $16 to $18. But they're great. They store all your batteries and keep all your batteries in one place, and everything's not ripping open packages. And, you always have that junk drawer full of batteries and stuff, but those battery carriers are really great. So those are things, there's just examples of what I do when I send out my buy alerts and so forth. So, but yeah, crazy Russian stuff today, and Walmart family is selling off a boatload of stock because I think they know something is coming down the pipe. And again, in all the research that I saw, I have not seen them sell that much in such short amount of time. 71 million shares. So that concerns me. They've got some intel that is causing them to do some liquidation, or at least create a nest egg for somewhere over here or something like that. And again, these financial pundits, they're supposed to be doing it every year and every, yeah, I understand, but not to that extent. I mean, why do you dump 71 million shares unless you know something is coming down the pipe? And so, and it's insider trading, and they're reporting on their insider trading forums and everything like that. But for them to do that tells me something's coming down. And I think it is the whole BRICS China thing. And I think they are reading the writing on the wall, and they're seeing some very, very rough seas ahead. Because imagine if, they only have 2.3 or 3.2 or 3 point something percent of their store is only American made, and the rest is imports. What happens when China and the BRICS nations disappear? They've got a bunch of empty shelves, a lot of unhappy people and things. So that's, again, my very strong speculation. I've been throwing that around out there to other people, and they're kind of in agreement. When I told them, hey man, do you know the Walmart family sold 71 million shares? They're like, no, what's going on? Why are they? They're asking the exact same questions I am. So something's coming down the pipe, and they've got some intel on it, and so they dump some stock. I don't know when they can dump more stock, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on them and see if they're liquidating any more shares, and if they're liquidating large amounts, which if they are, that then again tells me something's coming down the pipe that they know, and we don't, not yet. So that's everything, folks. Raymond Moore, thank you so much. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell. In fact, do me a favor right this moment. Click on that little thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Do that right now. And then share this video out with folks. I talked a lot of stuff. It also share my Walmart article, because again, that's been going viral. And I think I'm onto something, because like I said, I've talked to several people, in fact, a number of people now over it, and everybody's is in agreement with me, and several aren't, but that's normal. But a lot of people are in agreement with me because they're reading the same writing on the wall that I am, and I think that they are too. So, but that's everything. Raymond Moore, Kilted Prepper. We'll see you. Goodbye. God bless, and kilt on.